Mr. Chairman, and welcome panel. I remain opposed to the Mint's current effort to gain greater power in determining the composition of circulating coinage. It is unconstitutional to delegate the determination of the metal content of our coinage to the Secretary of the Treasury. Under Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, the Congress is given the power to coin money and regulate the value thereof. It's a shame that Congress has already unconstitutionally delegated its coinage authority to the Treasury Department, but that is no reason to further delegate our power and essentially abdicate congressional oversight. While I sympathize with the aim of saving taxpayers' dollars by reducing the cost of coinage, it is disappointing that our currency has been so greatly devalued as to make this step necessary. At the time of the penny's introduction, it actually had some purchasing power. Based on the price of gold, that 1 penny would have purchased in 1910 requires 57 cents today. It is no wonder that few people nowadays would stoop to pick up any coin smaller than a quarter. One of the witnesses on our second panel mentions the importance of the Mint's production of bullion coinage and the danger of counterfeit collector coins that may or may not be minted from silver or gold. It's a shame that instead of protecting the value of the dollar to ensure that precious metals coins could still circulate as money, or enforcing counterfeiting laws to stop the flow of clearly fraudulent coins, the federal government insists on printing trillions of dollars out of thin air and prosecuting individuals who attempt to create precious metal currencies to compete with the devalued U.S. dollar. The topics discussed in today's hearings exemplifies how far we have fallen, not just since the days of the founders, but only in the last 75 to 100 years. We could not maintain the gold standard nor the silver standard. We could not maintain the copper standard, and now we cannot even maintain the zinc standard. Paper money inevitably breeds inflation and destroys the value of the currency, which harms all Americans. I wait for the day that we have a committee hearing when we talk about, once again, reinstituting sound money for our people. I yield back. Mr. Chairman, I want to follow up on that very subject with Mr. Moy because I had some questions myself. Has the Mint ever made planchettes? Is that something they've never done?
Yes, the Mint has made planchettes in its past, but it got out of the business, a decade ago, mainly because of the extreme cost of doing it, the environmental hazard for doing it, and it was determined at that time that there were other private entities who could make it more cheaply and safely than the United States Mint could.
Okay, and because of the shortage that you didn't have, and you had a mandate, you had to put them into the non-proof coins. That is correct. And you're asking now for authority to say that you can take some of that money out or coinage out and make proof coins. Now, is this the first year that you've missed making proof coins in 2009?
Yes, this is the first year that we've missed.
If the problem were corrected, is there such a thing as minting coins a year late? It's because of some of those collectors, I'm sure, are thinking, oh, why can't I have an 2009 coin?
The Mint is required to basically sell the coins that are minted in the year that they're made. So if the date is 2009, we sell 2009 coins in 2009.
So the 2009 will be missing.
Is missing.
Yes.
And what we're trying to do is prevent 010 from being missing.
Now, it still baffles me that we can't make a planchette. I don't know anything about the equipment or what is necessary, but doesn't this country take jewelry and make complicated jewelry out of gold? And isn't this just pretty simple? This just really, is confusing to me why this can't be accomplished. Instead of looking for more planchettes, you're saying, well, let's give me more authority so I can make a few of these proof sets rather than figuring this out. I mean, what would a businessman do about this? Would he always resort to going to Australia to do this? This just seems so bewildering that a problem that seems rather simple that we couldn't have had a easier solution for this. I mean, right now we don't even have a solution.
Well, a businessman has to weigh two things. On one end, to develop, to make the planchets ourselves, we need to make capital investments. in order to develop the smelters, the chemical processing, take care of the environmental hazard of getting rid of the chemicals, all those issues. And on the other side, you have a limited amount of planchet makers around the world who don't want to increase their capacity unless they get guarantees from government that we will continue buying at such a high rate for some foreseeable future so that they can spread out their capital investment. So those are the two choices, and right now it is the most efficient choice to be able to expand the quantity of planchets that we're getting from the various suppliers.
Now, there are private companies make, not coinage, but they make medallions, and I've never heard of them running out of planchettes. Do you think they have that problem?
Yeah, they don't, because they're not in a business of being the largest bullion maker and supplier in the world. Last year, we sold 28 million ounces of these. This year, we're headed to 32 million ounces. On an average year, the mint might make 8 million ounces of this. So the other people don't have to deal with the volume issues that the United States Mint does.
This is awfully disturbing. What are we going to do when we go on the gold standard? You won't even be able to make the gold coins. I mean, you can't even keep up with a few collectors.
By that time, my term as mint will be done, and I will start a planchet making company to pick up the excess.
Well, it seems to me, I don't know what it is, but it seems to me that there has to be a market answer for this, and maybe it's the promise to take these no matter how many they make. Maybe that would help. I mean, they're not going to lose their value, like it's a risky thing. It seems like, that you're dictated by law that you can't. You have to promise these private sources on how many you can take.
Well, we're not dictated by law, but just by business practice. When a company invests in expanding their capacity, they're going to want to make sure that investment gets paid off over time, and they're not willing to do it unless they get a commitment from their buyers to buy up all their excess
Sounds
capacity.
like they don't trust the government. I don't know. Thank you. I yield back. I have a question for Mr. Clark. Why do you think the Mint only uses 3 suppliers to provide these planchettes?
I'd like to be able to answer that, sir, but I have no first-hand knowledge.
I mean, if you know the business, are there other people who can make them in the country?
I believe there are other companies out there that are very interested in offering their services to the Mint.
And I understand they're not restricted by the law to these 3 individuals. I mean,
I'm
they
not
have the authority to do it. If we get the palladium coin, we're still going to have that same problem where we're going to get the planchettes because they can't even supply the demand right now. Now, you suggested that we get the GAO involved and take a look at all this and see if we can get recommendations. And I'm just wondering how much we really need this. Is there any other way to get some professional or political advice on this without an audit, or do you see that the audit is something very, very important?
Are we talking about the planchets or the palladium coin, sir?
Well, your recommendation for the audit to review the Mint's procurement processes for the blanks.
We thought an outside agency looking at their process and why, to answer your question, why they're restricting their sources to only 3 separate entities. Someone with a separate set of eyes and kind of a fresh look might be able to determine that there's a better way to go about it. That's why we're making the recommendation.
And your other recommendation was that we require all the planchettes be made here in this country.
We believe there's sufficient capacity within the U.S. borders to do so.
Do you think there is a lot of difference, a net difference in making these coins if we didn't require that the gold came from this country? Isn't gold generally pretty fungible? Does that make a big difference?
I think the interest in Congress's interest at the time they passed that requirement, of course, back in 1985, was to promote the sale, the job creation amongst American mining companies, that domestically produced gold be used for the American bullion coin programs. but you're right. I mean, obviously, gold is fungible, and conceivably it could be acquired anywhere. I don't think that's part of the problem. I think there's sufficient gold supply. It's just the actual fabrication of the planchets. For some reason, it's limited to 3 separate sources at the current time.
Yeah, it just seems to me, like I mentioned earlier in our hearings, that this problem seems to be unique to government. You know, if private industry is doing this, they just don't run into this. Now, some of this, I think, just like the emphasis in 1985 to use domestic gold and all, I can understand that, but it certainly is. We're a long way from a business person adjusting for supply and demand and doing it at the best price. There's no way that you know, the government can compete with private industry and even making a coin these days. Mm-hmm. But I was just wondering, you know, about how strongly you felt about that. But I really don't have any other questions, and I'm going to yield back my time.